Okay, so in that idea, are we ready to go, Jane?
Yes.
All right. So we're here with Jasmine Barnes. This is our first stint in trying to have a conversation with the composers with our new choral group, Hear Us, Hear Them. Our first concert is this spring, and Jasmine Barnes is one of the featured composers that we're using for this music. Sometimes I cry. Our choir loves it. It is super awesome. Like for real, for real. So what I would love to do is just pick your brain about where this came from, what you were thinking when you wrote it, why Tupac, all of these things. But we should first start like helping us all kind of get to know who you are. So I read your bio, it's exhaustive, you're highly decorated already, but go ahead and just tell us, who is Jasmine Barnes?
I'm just a little girl from Baltimore. That's all I say all the time. I'm from Baltimore. I live in Dallas now. My involvement, like growing up, like in the arts, my parents. Okay, my dad plays the trumpet. My mom is
My
not an
pops was too.
instrumentalist. Okay, come on, trumpet. Okay, and that
Yeah.
was one of my first instruments that I learned to play, and I feel like that still wasn't what directed me into music. I think what sent me skyrocketing, I guess, into music was really high school in the band. I was in the marching band. I was in concert band. I was a jazz band. So
Were you in
that was
Trump?
my
Were you a
thing.
trumpeter as well?
Trumpet, tuba, percussion.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was
You
my
were the band.
oh, one band, one sound. No,
Come through, Drumline. Look, I tried to use that with my students. They was like, "What are you even talking about?
what
That
is
just
that?
sounds so
They don't
dated."
know what that is. They're like, what?
Yeah,
You haven't
one
seen
band, one
Drumline?
sound. It was so dramatic when he said
It
that
was so
too. So
dramatic. I know it was like, whoop. But okay, no, but seriously, high school was great for that reason. But then, I got to college and I wasn't in music at first. I was an architecture major. I was very serious about it. And yeah, I spent way more time in the music building than the architecture building. And then it just was like, okay, you should change your major. Change
okay,
my
so
major to
sorry.
voice specifically.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, so if your high school experience music was instrumental, how did you gravitate towards choir, choral music, and singing as a major?
It was college. I know it sounds so crazy to people when I tell people I did not sing until I got to college. Like quite honestly, quite seriously, my high school didn't even have a choir. Like it
Hmm.
was it was that serious. like um it was I think it was more so me running away from it, more less than me like, just not having resource or access. I just didn't want to do it. Okay. It
So
was
you
just
weren't singing around the house, like hairbrush in the mirror, nothing like that.
no, I
No.
mean, like, to myself, that kind of thing, but not like,
Okay.
in the shower, maybe. I barely
Right.
sing in the shower. I still don't really sing in the shower. But no, like it was college. And so I went to Morgan State in Baltimore. So it just so happens to be a school that has a great architecture program and a great choral program. So it was like, oh, I like that over there. so yeah, y'all, I started I joined the choir. I ended up changing my major to music. After that, singing really just was like taking off for me. That was it for me. I said that's what I was going to be doing.
Okay.
But my traumatic experience, that my lemons into lemonade story, is that when I was 19, I got casted as Serena in Porgy and Bess, which was a big deal. But I was 19 and I was too young to be doing that role fully. And I had a voice injury. So when I was 20, I had a voice injury. And my trauma moment was that I couldn't sing for like a semester. But my lemons into lemonade moment was that I started writing music in that time. So yeah, I started writing choral stuff. I think I started writing choral things because it was something I really wanted to do, but I couldn't do at the time.
Mm.
Um, I wanted to sing in the choir. I wanted, solo rep. I was, all these different things. I just started writing it down, and it was really therapeutic for me. So I feel like in connecting to, sometimes I cry, that identify with that piece so much because it felt like what I felt like in that moment, but it was like in poem form. So, but I didn't write that at that time. But when I was able to, when I say I wrote that piece, like in a day. I'm not even joking. It's because it all came out at one time. I was like, oh dang, oh I like that. Oh I want to do this. I want to do this. So yeah, that's how I ended up writing music.
That's what's up.
And after that, I went to grad school at Morgan again for composition. And
And the first composition graduate, is that right?
yeah, they
All
didn't have a
right.
program,
All right,
and
pioneer.
they didn't have a composition program. Um, they had a conducting and voice and instrumental track
Hmm.
for master students, and I didn't want to do any of those things. At that point, I was like, no. If I sing, now when I sing, I do it like like gigs. I don't
Hmm.
necessarily like oh I'm trying to pursue this opera career that I was trying to do at some point, and
Right.
it's not because I couldn't do it, because I did after that injury still, have do things. It was just a matter of like I loved writing more. I think I just love the
Yeah.
experience of it, the like, hermit mode of it, and then it being so big and out there outside of yourself, and it's like, whoa, that happened. So
Right.
yeah, sorry.
So you just kind of like just banged through the door at graduate school and was like, look, it's going to be composition, make room for me. Is that just kind of
So
how it went?
I think it was because I went to Morgan for undergrad, so I already had a rapport built for myself there. Um, Dr. Conway, the fine arts department head, he actually called me on my birthday. I took a year between undergrad and grad.
Okay.
He called me on my birthday, and to tell me happy birthday. And I was like, thanks. And then he was like, if you want to come to Morgan for grad school, you can come. It'll be free. Like I'll make sure you have everything covered. And I said, I don't want to go for voice. I thought about it because I was like, I mean, it's a free opportunity for a free master's degree. Like, yeah, I'm gonna take it, but I can't do that if I'm not doing what I really want to do. But Morgan is really fortunate to have Dr. James Lee III there on faculty. So he teaches a lot of the master's courses. He teaches music theory. Um, he teaches composition, obviously. So I pretty much called him and asked him like, so I want to come to grad school for composition. Will you just like teach me? And he was just like, yeah. So my track was completely different than anybody else's because of me having private composition lessons with him. And
So it was like an
yeah,
apprenticeship more.
yeah, it really
I
was because
dig that.
I ended up teaching a lot of his classes because he always had premiere after premiere after premiere that he had to be like seriously. He was
Right.
flying everywhere. Like the whole 2 years for grad school, he was like always booked. Okay, but it was a good example for me to like, okay, so this is what I need to be doing even while I'm doing this. Like
Right.
so. Anyways, that was that.
That's what's up. So how did you end up in Dallas? Like if I've read it right, you said born and raised Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
And Morgan State's in Baltimore, right?
Hmm.
So how you end up in Texas?
So my mom, I always say she just up and left me. No, no, I'm joking. She didn't up and leave me.
Sometimes I cry.
I know sometimes I cry. Okay, no, in 2012, while I was still like I was in undergrad, my mom moved to Dallas, and so I was like, "Dang girl, you just gonna leave me in Baltimore like that?" So yeah, she did, and it was okay. It was my like okay, grow up moment, like and yeah, I would visit her on the summers and things like that. But I'm telling you, like when I took that gap year, that really like helped me kind of get back close. But grad school, I think I spent like 1 or 2 months home out of the whole 2 years, and I felt so bad. But let me tell you though, in 2018, my mom got diagnosed with breast cancer, and so that was also the same year that I graduated grad school. So
Mm.
all this was at the same time. So it was a lot going on.
Yeah.
I was on tour when she found out, um, and I was like, I just felt this need, like I hadn't seen my family like in over a year at that point. So I was just like, okay, I need to like make sure I'm there.
Right.
So after grad school, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna move to Dallas. I'm just gonna move there and be there for her surgeries and for her procedures, and it was a lot. But she is cancer free. Okay, so yes, so yeah, so I kind of
Yeah.
landed here because I applied for the job that I'm in right now at Booker T, high school for the performing and visual arts. And yeah, that all happened around the same time. Like it was, I'm a spiritual person. So like, I really feel like God like
Mm-hmm.
was just like putting things like completely in a row. I needed to be in Dallas, one.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to be in Dallas for more things than I thought, right? So I thought it was just for my mom, but it ended up being for me. And as well, being, you know, teaching here, and I was hired as the head of composition and jazz voice here. So it was just like, whoa,
Go ahead. Mark
and
that.
I'm, okay,
Yeah. At Booker T, which is what an interesting name to name a performing arts school. Like I feel like Booker T. Washington wouldn't be hype about a performing arts school, but
no, he wouldn't. No.
right. Yeah.
So the history behind that is Booker T actually was the first high school for Black people in the state of Texas.
Okay.
Yeah. So and that was in 1920, which is kind of late when
Right.
you think about it. That was in 1920. And so that school from 1920 to 1975
Mm,
was all Black, was an all Black high school.
okay.
Um, and even after integration, I'll put that in air quotes, it's obviously still going to stay predominantly Black because that's who lives in the community, right?
Right.
So yeah. Anyways, so moving forward, when they established the performing arts side of it, it just they kept the name.
That's
So
what's up.
they kept
I
the
just
name.
I
I
can
think it's
just picture
weird.
Booker T. Washington like y'all better get a job. Like what do you mean
Listen,
performing arts?
look, I
We gonna
thought
get a
I thought it was
skill.
something like that, but it's not. Like
That's
Booker
what's
T is
up.
it's cool. It's a cool place, but this is my
Okay.
last year teaching there because I'm
Okay.
actually going into composition full time.
Come through.
I'm like excited about it, but
Yeah, that's I mean,
like
you don't do that unless you're feeling good about it. Like
I'm feeling
so
good. I'm feeling good.
congratulations. We'll
Thank
talk about
you.
that later. I wanna know
It's
what you're
all
working
like
on currently and stuff like that. But you're here specifically to speak about Sometimes I Cry. So
Mhm.
let's start first off. What's your favorite Tupac song? Everybody has one, or at least a list.
Oh, I've never actually been asked that. Hmm.
Jamie, you got one?
I have to think about that too,
I have
actually.
to know because
Uh,
I gotta know because now I have to because I want to give you my favorite because hold on,
Go ahead.
excuse me, I'm opening my playlist. I don't know. It's a toss up for me right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, just run down the list. Ain't got to be the perfect. Just
Harry, what is yours?
Yeah. Now,
so Dear Mama
okay.
is just because I love the beat. Da, da, bum, da, da. I just love that, just at the guitar riff. It's just so cool. Like Brenna's Got a Baby was my introduction to pop. So that one always, when I go back to listen to it, it's like it affect the whole community. Like I just anyway, but that one, Hail Mary, and I know that's controversial, but that was my jam
Okay. Yeah.
too. Yeah, I ain't no killer, but don't push me. Like, but
Yeah.
I mean, but that's the thing about Pac. He was all over the place musically and artistically. But Dear Mama, Brenda's Got a Baby, Changes, love that one.
Mine is going to have to be Only God Can Judge Me, and I had to come to that one just because it took me a little minute. But when you were saying when you brought up Hail Mary, I was like, wait a minute. I feel like Only God Can Judge Me my favorite, and I'll tell you why. Like I feel like his writing style, Tupac's writing style to me, even in his rapping, has always just been completely poetic. And I feel like he gives like such a lens into really like the life of a black man in America,
Mm,
but not in the way that's like really kind of performative that you see often now. You know what I'm saying? Like it was, it's authentic to me, and not his language is not coming from a perspective of I'm telling you my black story from a performative lens for you to digest it well, if that
mm,
makes any sense. So
right.
I see that like really often. Now, not no offense to music that is out now, but I see that often now where people are trying to respond to stereotypes less than just saying this is my life.
Right.
And however you perceive it is how you perceive it, and how you receive that is that's on you. And I think that's what I really enjoy about his writing. It's unapologetic. It is.
Yeah.
It doesn't ask for apology in it at all. Like, I love that.
Often it's like two sides of the coin, right? The same dude that says, keep your head up and has this really empowering song for women.
Right.
And the same album will say I get around. And it's
you know.
And it's like, wait, what? Like,
but that's the thing. There are so many complexities in life. I mean, it's so many different perspectives that you can choose to take within your own life, and then there's many perspectives you can choose to take on other people's, like your snapshot into other people's lives. And I think he was just showing that I got layers. I'm not like
clearly
just one thing all the time. I have layers. I have complexities. I have feelings. I have emotions. And for a Black man to make that clear and evident to the listener is a really big deal, because that is something in the Black community that is not really uplifted. Black men having emotions and feelings and actually having layers and complexities to themselves. Like, it's always like, concealment instead of, so I think it's kind of cool even to just like listen to his music and like study it in that way, where you're not listening for I'm trying to think of the way I'm trying to say this. It'll come to me. My brain said no. I was like, what am I saying? What right way you was right. I forgot. Yeah. Okay. We're going. It's going.
You good. You about to stop teaching. You fine. You on your way out.
Okay. That brain fog, boy. Okay.
Look. All right. So let's talk about Sometimes I Cry. So what came first, the music, then the poetry, or the poetry, then the music?
Oh, the poetry for sure. Because I went looking for Tupac poetry, and so specifically poetry instead of a song. So a lot of people look up the lyrics of his songs, and I chose to look up his poems. Now, here's the other thing. I was commissioned by the Hurley T. Burley Festival in Nashville, and so the project originally was just for that, but since then it's just been like many things. But my goal actually with it is to write more, like maybe like 3 or 4 more of his poems, in a song, like in a choral like
yes,
song.
please.
Okay. So,
and if you need a choir that might.
Yes.
I'm serious. I told you this in email. One of the reasons why I was drawn, I was already intrigued because I watched a Zoom with you and Joel Thompson, and I was just like, let me look up more. Yeah, I was like, let me look up more of Jasmine's music. And then when you was like, wait, she wrote a song based on Tupac lyrics? Yes, please. Like, yes, please. Like, I was like, I gotta order this. We performing this now. I don't even care if it makes sense in our concert. We're gonna figure out a way to punch this in. I'm serious. So
that's Tupac. I mean,
yeah, but I mean, even that though, I mean, you in the composition world, who's doing that? Like, who is celebrating our Black culture, our hip hop culture, and putting it over into a fine art frame? It's always the other way around.
That's what I want. Because yes, exactly what you said. It's always the other way around, where people will try to take a classical song and put it into a genre instead of putting a genre into classical music. Like, but it comes from that elitist perspective that is within classical music. Like, oh, everyone cannot do this. That mentality of everyone can't do this is what's killing it as an art form. Like, that everyone literally can do this. Like, just like any other genre, everyone can do it. It's a matter of how music has evolved over time. And so for the entities that hold the music to not evolve with it is like, that doesn't even make sense. Because when you think about it, when you mention like jazz, for instance, in this country, you know that there's different eras of jazz. There's not just like, oh, it's just jazz. It's so many different, each decade has like a different, and there's elitism in that too, but that's another story for another day.
Well said.
But
I have my own platform on that, but I always come out controversial. So I keep my mouth shut on that.
Like, on
that one.
Saying is, some stuff in there too, education. When Jazz got in school, that's the elitism really.
Look.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Conversation
Okay.
off the camera about anyway.
You feel me? But yeah, no, like it's it doesn't make sense that this country. I mean, but it kind of just music is just such a like a microscope onto the history of this country when you think about it. How like America has these constraints and these systems that were just put into place, and this idea of no, we can't touch that. Don't touch that. It's tradition. We have to keep it this way.
Mm.
That is literally embedded through many different aspects of our lives. That idea of we can't touch that. We can't move this. We can't change that.
Says
Yes, we
who?
can.
Right.
Yes, we can. And
Right.
so, but that same construct is what it was rooted in racism, and it was rooted in systemic oppression. Systemic oppression is like, so it's like if we disturb these constructs, it will eventually trickle and have a trickling effect into disturbing the constructs of the country. And so
Yeah.
I wish people understood that about arts in general, that like when there's progress in the arts, there's progress over here, there's progress
Hmm.
over there. It just all works together in that way. But
Right.
anyhow, what were you saying? What did you say? What did you ask me?
So the origin story. It's all right. I want it to be real chill.
Oh, right.
If it
Okay.
goes different ways, it's good because I want
No,
everyone,
okay.
including myself, to know more authentically Jasmine Barnes. So speak your truth. I'm here to listen. But
So
I was
look.
asking the origin of Sometimes I Cry.
Okay, yeah. So, that piece, yeah, the poetry was first because once I looked through a few different poems of his, which I still have that list that I really like, and I'm definitely going to write to the rest of them. My dog is being crazy. I don't know what she's doing upstairs. I don't know what she's doing right now. Like, okay, but yeah. So I wanted to keep the poetry as completely like stuck to the original, like the way that he wrote it, including like, for instance, he wrote like the number two instead of like to, or like u instead of you. It was like
Right.
the letter u. I wanted to keep it exactly like that and see. And I know as far as like gentrifying dialect, that is a thing, and the same respect that people have for Negro spirituals, as far as respecting that dialect, I think the same should be held for Ebonics and for slang and the things. I mean, I think a lot of time there's like a certain level of
Mhm.
respect that people give to one sector of blackness more than others.
Right.
And
I think that's saying something though, because you're giving it power by this is how Tupac wrote it. I am honoring this poet. The same
yeah,
way if we were setting something by some like T.S. Eliot, if he wrote it this way, I'm gonna honor that. Like do the
or Edgar
same
Allan
thing.
Poe.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
he spelled it this way, I'm going to keep it that way.
Yeah.
I
And
don't.
who am
I
I to
don't
say
consider
what's
what
right
they
or what's
do.
wrong? I'm honoring Tupac Shakur. So
Right.
I appreciate it. I thought that was really cool.
And I was asked that before though, that question, like why did you put number two? Why did you put the letter U? And I was like, well, it's not my words, first of all. Second, first of all, no, but no. But it's not my words, but the other thing is that, there is so much respect in keeping text the way it was written and trying your best to capture the emotion of that part of the text musically. Was really that was all I wanted to do, was really just like, what does this piece feel like? And when I told you, like when I wrote it, when I tell you I wrote it in a day, and it was crazy. I cleaned it up obviously after the fact, but
Mhm.
it was like a brain vomit of ideas, and like, yeah, brain
Okay.
vomit. That's
No, you good.
that doesn't sound that good. But yeah, no, it was just like, and I had this feeling of it being felt more like a spiritual, like a concert spiritual, because I just feel like it all ties in. It's all connected in some way. So the elements that I like, the genres that I tried to use in it was like Negro spiritual in the concert form setting, right, with the SATB, acapella voicing, um, and just the feeling of it. But also a little bit of jazz. Um, what else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. I stayed mostly to Black American art forms for
Right
it,
on.
and even with the idea of classical voicing, um, it's not talked of, it's not spoken of a lot, but Black voices in the concert spiritual setting is a sector of classical music of its own,
Mm,
and it's not very respected in that way. It's always like, oh, the Negro spiritual, and then it's like, and now real opera, and it's like, what?
mm,
Whoa, like these are still
right,
stories. These are still things that can be told in that way.
right.
I promise you, you could write an opera about a spiritual, about a Negro spiritual, um, based on one spiritual.
Hmm.
Right, right. You can.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just it's so many things that could be built around it and layered into that because that's the kind of complexities that exist with it. Where
right.
it comes from doesn't come from a place of this is what I learned. It came from a place of this is what I experienced. And so, yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. So when you're writing this, and if I get too detailed, you can get past it. Were you in a moment of sometimes I cry type of vibe when this spoke to you, or it just you just really
Man,
you found those texts right in the right time? Like what, like where were you mentally, spiritually, emotionally, if you don't mind?
I'm trying to actually think and remember when
Okay.
I know I wrote it in 2019.
19. Okay.
I know I wrote it then. I'm trying to think, what was I doing? I did. I did feel like that at the time. Um, yeah, I had to really think because
You good.
I try to remember like really in the moment of like what was happening. Um, in that time, as you know, this is my last year teaching. I was stressed about school about to start back up and me not having time to write the way I really needed to, and I was worried about that, and that completely unrelated to the poem, but but you know that feeling of running out of time, that anxious feeling,
Mm,
um, was kind of how I felt in that time, and so the music kind of sat anxiously for me. Um, I think that's why it was really easy to like get it all out. I was like,
yeah.
oh, this is exactly what I want to say. And the other thing about that particular poem that I like is that because I notice now too, because I try to do it myself, um, make my sorrow palatable to other people. Like where we'll try to like do this thing where it's like, I this is what I'm going through, but it's okay because I'm gonna, try to be optimistic for other people's
Mm,
like version of their acceptability of what you're saying instead of just feeling it in the moment. What I love about this poem is that it doesn't go into that. It does like the same thing we were talking about. He's not performative in that way. It
right.
doesn't go into like but one day I'll feel fantastic. No, because sometimes it's just good to just
Yeah.
sit in that moment and just be like,
Sometimes
I
I
need it.
cry.
Sometimes I cry. I really need it.
Yeah.
I need this moment. If I don't cry outside of this moment, it could blow up into something else.
Right.
And I mean, and I thought of even maybe where he was in that time
Mm,
writing that poem. Um, I feel like the title itself, sometimes I cry. Like, and for that to be like something that is said out of the mouth of a black man. Um,
with a thug life tattooed on his stomach. Like I'm
right.
just saying
Sometimes I
that
cry.
type of trope that
Yeah,
we
like
yeah.
you feel me? It's like
Yeah.
an oxymoron, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's like that in that way, but it's only because culturally it addresses so many things. Like it can be. I love what I love about the piece itself is that it can be sang by multiple cultures, um,
Hmm.
and have a completely different perspective each time.
I love that too. I wasn't gonna say anything. I just love that that it's written by a black woman from text by a black man with African American musical features,
Hmm.
but it's a concert piece. Like it's not, you don't have to feel culturally like you're
Right?
not
Like,
stripping it from us, or you ain't like just program it and sing it and it hits. And I think it's one of the reasons why our choir likes it, because it resonates whomever you are,
mhm.
like it hits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it drew me to really like. I was like, okay, this is it, because I did have a couple iterations before I like got that one particular song out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, no, like you know, no, no, and I wasn't inspired. And then just one particular day, I was just very inspired, and
Yeah.
yeah, it just like came out. But I think just that statement. Sometimes I cry. Like
Yeah.
and it's okay to feel that way. Like it's okay to cry, and for whatever your reason is. So that's the thing too, because we don't know directly what his reasoning was for
Right.
why he was crying, right, or why he needed to let you know that sometimes he cries.
Right.
Um, but even without that context, we can all identify with that as human beings. We can all identify with sorrow, and we can identify with those kinds of pains. But to do it in a way that is not to make it palatable to someone to process your pain, and
Just
it's
let it be.
yeah, and just let it be.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
dig that.
and
Like
then
even your final chord, like you got this, so you're in C minor the whole time, right?
mhm.
Then you stay there, but then you put this like this raised seventh, like it's almost major, but it ain't.
It
And
ain't
then at
quite
the
there.
same time, it got that dissonance to end it. I just thought that was so brilliant. Like, no, no, no. Let me say one more time. Sometimes I cry.
One more time.
Yeah, I thought that was so clever.
Thank you.
Yeah,
No, I
yeah,
just
right on.
that yeah, I didn't feel like it needed to end in this like happy place. Like it sits there. The poem sits there, and
Yeah,
I'm all right with that. Um,
yeah,
I'm all right with that. Like, and to have I think having that study into just all aspects of emotions kind of just reminds you of how human you are.
mm,
That other people experience it in the same kind of way as you.
right,
Well, not maybe not the same way, but experience the same things as you at some point.
right,
Maybe not the same way. Okay, because there's some things. Okay,
right.
that we know are tailored to our own personal journey experience. So,
Facts.
um, yeah, I love that. I mean, and music itself is connected in that kind of way, where you don't have to know anything about the person singing next to you, but if y'all
Mm-hmm.
know the same song, you can sing it. And I think that's like important to understand too about. I'm such a Libra. like, I'm like, oh god, harmony for everyone. So no, seriously though, like, you know, music really can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can sing with somebody from another country that doesn't sing the same language as you at all. I mean, speak the same language as you at all, but you can sing the same song and identify with them in that moment.
Right.
I think music is the cure for world peace. No,
Yeah.
no,
I
no.
think the challenge with this is yours. The challenge is as soon as we get off stage, everyone goes back to their own, and
Yep,
that I
that's the
find
part.
is continuously frustrating.
That's
Is
the
that
part.
especially
Hmm.
um, persons who don't have to struggle with the history of oppression or current oppression will enjoy singing the music of those oppressed and feel it in the moments and then go right on back to what they were doing the next day. And I don't know how we
Yes,
can connect that or not, but
I have so many words.
but I mean, but in that window of 3 minutes and 30 seconds, we vibing, we
We
unify,
vibing for these 3 minutes and 30
we
seconds.
here, we in it.
I should not stop
Yeah,
singing. Huh?
yeah. I
No,
mean,
seriously, right? No, it's that's in a way I love writing pieces that speak to the Black experience. I do.
right.
Um, Primarily because I would rather it be me that writes about the Black experience than someone else writing about the Black experience. So I'm like, I'm gonna make sure that I'm giving my voice to this, not, and so we don't have continue to have those narratives of like Porgy and Bess and
Yeah,
Boat,
yeah,
and you know these things that are making Black people look like we have one type of state of being, um, which is not true. I
right.
feel like now, like I said, I love writing. I do love writing pieces from the Black perspective. In the same token, it is tiring. A lot of
Mhm.
times, like it can be exhausting,
Right.
in reliving traumas and things. And usually, it's oh god, usually it's for white organizations that want to make sure that other people can see that we're making change. And while I appreciate the change that they are making or attempting to make, it's the conversations that need to be had. It's conversation that needs to be had, less than another performance. This is the thing. What a lot of people don't understand, when you come from performative culture, there's a lot of performing going on in less
Well
than
said.
just on the stage. It's a lot of performing going on.
Well said.
So it's like you have to communicate before you can like just say, oh, well, we're doing this for your community. So because I feel like later it'll be like, well, we did do that concert.
Aren't you
So
grateful now?
aren't you
should
happy?
Be happy now.
You did get hired as an artistic advisor now. Aren't
Right.
you happy? Like,
Yeah.
and it's like, I want to talk. I want to talk to you about like
Yeah.
why this is problematic. Can we loosen up this? Can we change this? Not even can we. We're going to change this, because that mentality of us having to come into a space and ask questions, that in which asking questions is a good thing, but asking questions like for permission is like problematic in itself too. It's like, oh, can we please try, hiring more Black artists, or can we please try, like, instead of just being like, this is just what needs to happen.
I'm smiling because she's doing such a great job and not centering herself, but you are on the Zoom with someone that lives that, breathes that her whole life, all day, every day, all day, every day. She'll be the one text me at night, be like, I'm so tired of this, and then the next morning say, hey, I'm running for another position because we need more voices. I'm like, girl,
see, but that's
need more like you.
That's it right there, though, Jamie. Like, it's always, if I don't do it, who's gonna do it? That's in my head.
If that ain't your mom, I swear for God, if that ain't your mom, just get that tattoo somewhere. I swear.
All right, if I don't do it, who will? Okay.
If not me, then who?
Get that tatted on the arm, right? If not me, then who?
Right. All right. So So back to the music. Talk to me about two musical features, and Jamie, please chime in if there's something that hits you on this piece. Two musical features that I loved so much. I loved all of it, but the repeated ostinato of "No One Cares" over and over in various layers, and then talk to me about that one first, and I'll tell you about the other feature I thought was so cool.
And it's so interesting. Yeah, it was, and no one cares about why. Like, it was just that. So the statement was just, and no one cares about why. And I was just like, man. In that moment, I was just thinking, that there's multiple voices that we hear that same statement in our head. If we do, I think everyone has gotten to a point where they feel like no one cares about them at some point. Even if you have clear signs and evident, like, people trying to show you things. If you have already made up in your mind and no one cares, no one cares. Like, and as many voices you can hear that, and you can hear it from yourself saying no one cares. You can hear it from someone else saying no one cares. You can hear it from society saying no one cares. You can hear it from body language. It don't have to be said at all. And so that was my thought, in that it being reflective of all the many times that no one cared. So yeah, I myself, I have in the past, I don't anymore, thank God, battled with depression. And I say in the past because I think I live really worry free now. Oh man, I think it's gonna take me a lot to kind of get out of the place of like, I don't care. My I don't careometer is just full. Okay, so no, but it's only because that worrisome life is what kept me back and forth into depression, because it was like, worried about what other people have to say, worried about what other people think, worried about what I think about what other people think. That doesn't make any sense, but it was a thing. Worried about my future, worried about just everything, just worried about anything I could be worried about. Worried about my family, worried about my own success, worried about other people's, like, it was just like, yeah. Anyways, but being that type of person where I'm worried about everybody else, I did feel alone. a lot of times, and I understood that statement, like, and no one cares about why. It might not even be true, but it's true to you in that moment.
Right.
Like,
Right.
no one cares about why. And
Right.
and sometimes I cry. Like, I'm just like,
Right.
it's so straightforward, but I love
Yeah.
it, like, in that way. And it's such a small poem. It's a very short poem, but it's a mouthful said in it. Like, even the part, the who do you know? That
Yeah.
stops that long.
Look, Jasmine, that was literally the other feature I was about to talk. I was like, talk to me about that quarter chord, that quartal, like I'm
Court,
about to
come
say,
on, court,
that
stop.
quartal chord that just makes it sound so hollow. And I think I know what you're doing, but I don't want
Yes,
to
you
speak
did.
for
That's
you.
it.
I don't want to speak for you. So talk to me about that feature.
I also just love fourths, like
Oh, okay.
anything space and fourths. Okay, it's kind of a thing, but no, that was the feeling though, the hollow feeling, like, and I wanted the section to feel like separated from what was just done, kind of like um, hovering, kind of, sort of. So it came from this idea of taking time to say that no one stops that long. If that makes any sense, like, the show, like, no one would stop this long to help me.
Right. Like, who do you know?
Who do you know?
Yeah.
And that's a real
Yeah.
statement, though. I mean, like,
No, it
dang,
is
that's
though.
that's some
It
real
is though.
stuff.
It
Who do you
is.
know?
Jamie, is there
Stop
any
that
other
long to help
features that you want to highlight before I go another way?
Nope. Go ahead. I don't want to
I
interrupt.
was
I like listening to both of y'all like have these conversations. So I'm an observer. I'm not as much of a choral person. So I like
Look, that's all right. That's all right.
yeah. Jasmine, you kind of stomped on her dreams, like, because she's a graduate student in voice right now. And you was like, I don't want to do voice. Like, that's who she
No,
is.
no, that was for me. Child, look, no, and it was crazy because, like, even in grad school, I still was like performing, and I was still studying voice while I was in grad school, but I could not do that as my major. I was like, child, y'all not gonna get me, okay? No, because people think it's easy. It's not. Being a master student for voice is not easy at all. Like, you're doing a lot of you're doing a lot of form and analysis stuff just outside of, like, even learning the pieces. Like, you also are, learning about the history of the composers, and then you're, getting program notes, and you're, like, doing all this research about this one piece. No, I'm not doing that. Not to sing the song. Not to do that. Nope. So I'll write my own. Okay.
Right. And as we have you on to get the history of your piece, like, all right, so talk to me about the process. So you say you knocked this out in a day. Were you at a piano? Were you in front of your laptop? Like, what? A
I
little
hear
mixture
everything
of
in my
both?
head. Like, especially with vocal things, I also sing it. So it's like okay. Okay. So but for the most part, I hear everything in voices in my head, even when I hear voices. And no, but even when I write instrumental things, I'm thinking about voices because, well, what I do know is that instruments were created to mimic the voice in the first place. So the idea of knowing vocal textures and then being able to match that with, like, oh, this instrument can create that vocal texture, or this instrument can create, and so that's kind of like how I process it. But yeah, so when I write for the voice, it's like that was easy because I'm already thinking of it in voice and vocal texture. So yeah, so when I wrote it out, it was kind of just like this idea of, like, what melody lines do I want to hear. So I think of it for each individual vocal texture, and it's in my head, and it's the same thing when I transcribe, like, vocal music, which I like. I'm a nerd. I like I like
You are a
transcribing vocal
professional
jazz.
composition. You a professional composer. That's who you are.
Oh my gosh.
You good.
No, that literally is like saying nerd in, like,
Yeah.
other speak. But
I'm in graduate school for choral music. Like,
so nerd. Yeah.
Right. That's
nerd.
what we're here for. Yeah.
Nerd. No, but yeah, like, I what was I saying? I
was asking you about your process.
Yes. Oh yeah, I hear everything in voices. So it was already kind of just already in my head in that way. And and I hear each individual line for its melodic purpose by itself, not necessarily like a company, like like
Okay.
people feel like,
So you
oh,
weren't thinking of it like
yeah, I
you were
think
thinking
horizontally.
okay. All right, that's what's up.
So sometimes I think when I'm thinking vertically, like when I'm thinking like, okay, I need to figure out what chord I'm hearing in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll get to that place. But for the most part, I'm thinking like this line works by itself, this line works by itself, this line works by itself, and then it comes together. So part of it is theory too, but that's like another story. Another. Like, I don't want to bore the people.
You learn all the rules just so you can break the rules. Like, isn't that what they say? You learn all the theory rules so you can break.
You learn the rules so you can break them.
Right.
Although that's another story for another day. How I feel about theory. But
sorry, go ahead.
No.
Well, I was just saying, as I'm having a good time, and it's been really awesome. But as promised, I wanted to keep it short. So I want to leave you with this one. Can you tell us what you're working on currently? And then let the last thing you say, just kind of where can we find you? Where can we see your music?
Y'all, I feel like God has been low-key, high-key showing off in my life in the past like couple months, really. So, all right, so I am up for an award right now with All Classical Portland. And it's the recording initiative. Recording inclusivity initiative. I was like, let's get that together. Okay. And y'all, I was shocked because I'm nominated. And so is my composition teacher.
Okay.
That's crazy, right? I know.
That's a battle. That's be really fun to see how that's gonna go.
I know.
Yeah. Like move over.
I know, right? Oh man, no, that really like that did my heart good because I said, Mama, I made it. Okay. No, I'm not there yet. But yeah, that was amazing. What else? April 14th, Resonance Ensemble in Portland as well. There's a lot of Portland things. Is premiering a piece that they commissioned for me called Normal Never Was, and it's based on Sawyer and Renee Taylor's poem Normal Never Was, and it's about the coronavirus and life, and that nothing was actually normal before it. So
ooh.
That idea of returning back to normalcy is like, what is normal? So yeah.
And this is an art song or a choral piece?
It's a choral piece. It's an acapella choral piece. Yes. So I was like, that's kind of cray. But yeah, so that's that music video is coming out April 14th. And April 16th, Portland Opera is doing my song cycle, Songs for the African Violet. And my friend Leah Hawkins is singing that. I love her. I said it. I love Leah so much. She's yeah. I love her. What else? Oh, the Tulsa Opera Greenwood Overcomes program. Leona Mitchell is going to be singing one of my pieces, one of arrangement of Sweet Sweet Spirit on there. I was like, what? It's crazy. What else? I'm going to be a composer in residence fellow for Chautauqua Opera this summer. So I'll be there from June to August. And then the Kennedy Center just announced their 50-year anniversary, and I'm one of the composers for the cartography project. Whew, that's a lot. Wow. I know all of this is like literally all the stuff yeah.
And the greatest honor will be that you will be featured on the first concert of Hear Us, Hear Them. Sometimes I cry. You're welcome. Like, so just right above Kennedy, move over. Oh my gosh. Here we are in Cincinnati, Ohio, doing it. So just so the next interview, make sure you let them know, Cincinnati, Ohio, Hear Us, Hear Them.
For sure. Not for real.